So this is what's about to go into my fridge. I am Shayla. I'm a doctor and a plant-based chef, and I make videos on YouTube to show you how to make amazing, delicious plant-based meals that can also help you turn around your health. When I'm going to the grocery store, I kind of walk through a certain way. So for me, because I try to stick to the perimeter parts of the grocery store, the first thing I'm going to look for is going to be my herbs. One of my favorite go-to herbs is going to be parsley and cilantro. I just love adding this fresh herb to it because it spices up the meal in a fun way. And I'll add it as a garnish too to make things look pretty because we eat with our eyes. This is my favorite type of kale. If you don't know, now you know. This is dino kale, so it's very straight. Another name is lacinato kale. So this kale, super straight. It's not like the curly kale. And actually, like sometimes people will do collard green wraps instead of using like tortilla bread or like a pita wrap. So I tried to do that with the dino kale and it came out really good. So I'm going to probably do that more, but I'm going to be using this for the dinner I'm going to have for my family. This big old thing of spinach. I mean, it's actually more Aaron here than spinach in my opinion. I think Costco has a better deal, but it was 50% off. So I was like, all right, I'll get it. I'll throw this into smoothies. I'll throw it into my daughter's spaghetti to add veggies. I'll saute the spinach as a side. There's so many ways you can use this, and it's super quick to cook, so super quick to throw in. So if I don't want to like make a big fuss for dinner when it comes to the veggies, I like to use the spinach. I love red bell peppers. They're my favorite, but unfortunately they're also the most expensive. I'll get green, I'll get orange too, but I love getting red bell peppers. If I run out of tomatoes, I'll use this instead. I've even done it for clients that I've cooked for where they get really bad acid reflux from using tomatoes. So instead what I'll do is I'll roast the bell pepper and use it as its own sauce, like the same way you would have like a marinara or a tomato sauce, and use the roasted bell pepper sauce. We got our two different kinds of onions here. We got yellow onion, red onion. My daughter likes to call these purple onions. This is the base for all of my stews. Sometimes even when I'm cooking rice or quinoa, I love having onions and garlic, but I didn't run out of garlic. I already have a lot of that. And then another one I'll say is ginger root. So my husband, he is from Ghana. And his mom, she was the first person who showed me how to use ginger in cooking. She uses it a lot as a base for a lot of her stews. I do that as well. I also like to use this for smoothies. I know it sounds weird, but just add a little boost because of the health benefits, mainly that it helps decrease inflammation. So I love using ginger. And then one of my favorite veggies right now, I hated it growing up, but I love it now, is okra. I don't like it to taste really slimy and gummy. So what I do instead is I pan sear it, just like how you would saute, I don't know, the same way you would saute onions, or not onions, the same way you would like sear a steak. I'll sear the okra and then season it really nicely. I might do that later. We'll see. So next, green onions or scallions. I love to use these like in any dish where I don't want to use my typical white onion or red onion. So if I'm doing more of a Jamaican inspired dish where I'm going to use a lot of thyme, I'll use scallions. Or if I'm doing like an Asian dish, then I'll use scallions too. And also the tips I use for garnish and more the white and light green part, that's the part I typically like saute in a pan. Technically, I use butternut squash as a vegetable. Culinarily wise, I use it like a vegetable, but I think it's actually fruit because it has seeds, if I'm not mistaken. If you know for sure, let me know in the comments. Butternut squash, this is like one of my go-to squashes. It's probably one of the only squashes I use. Like I like yellow squash, but I prefer butternut squash because it has a nice like sweetness to it. One of the ways I like to use it, I'll just put this whole thing in the oven, throw it in the oven and just roast it. Don't cut it, anything. And about an hour, depending on the size, you just take a fork or something that's easy, like that has a little sharp edge to it. You should be able to poke right through it. That's how you know it's done. I have a really amazing, in my opinion, amazing, actually in other people's opinions, amazing, like pasta with a walnut bolognese sauce with jerk mushrooms. I actually did it for a client when I did my first supper club. I made the base of the sauce with the butternut squash. Super yummy. So these are just your typical baby bella mushrooms. You can pretty much get this anywhere. Usually I'll get them from Costco because you get a huge amount. I was actually surprised to see these at Whole Foods. I like to use these in the base of my stews, anything, or I'll just cook them alone, like almost like a meat substitute. In terms of the texture, it really depends on how you cook them. Mushrooms have a ton of moisture in them, so you got to really brown them enough to get all that moisture out so that it has a really nice flavor. What you'll usually see on social media are not the baby Bella, but more the specialty mushrooms. So I've only been able to find these in a couple places. Either I'll go to my local farmer's market, but the thing about them is that they're usually only open on the weekends. But I actually got these from Whole Foods. I've seen them also at Sprouts. So I just got 2 cases of these big, chunky blue oyster mushrooms. The reason why I love to use these is that I cook them more like almost like a meat. You know what? I'm gonna show you in the meal after how to do this. I also got their chef's mix, so it's just like a little medley. So if you're not sure which ones you like, you can get this kind, and then that way you can just kind of test it out. All right, it's not a banana, plantains. I love plantains. So when I was a kid, when I first had plantains, it was with my dad, and he would, oh my gosh, he made the best plantains. So I tried to make them when I was younger, and I never knew how he got them to be so good. And the trick with plantains is you want to make sure they're not super, you want to make sure they're ripe. So right now, these are not ready to be cooked. At least not the way that I would prefer to cook them, which is like just pan frying them in a little bit of oil. Really what you want is there to be a lot more black spots, and the more of those you see, the more ripe it is. This is definitely underripe. It's not ready. Even if I push on it, you can see it's pretty firm. I got a couple days before the weekend is here, so I'm going to actually put this in a paper bag with an avocado. It'll help the plantains ripen quicker because of the gas that the avocado emits. I love, love, love mango, but instead of getting a typical mango, I actually got yellow mango. I think the other name for it is Altofo mangoes. These are super sweet and they're smaller than your typical mangoes. I love to do these to make a mango pico de gallo. Actually, if I haven't done a video yet, I'll show you a picture here. Super nice way to make a different take on a salsa. And when you do any salsa, you're gonna need some lime. So I always try to have limes on hand. Try to have lemons because I love to have my acids. So this is a ripe avocado, not just because it's dark, but also when I press on it, you can see it leaves a little bit of an imprint, but not much. You don't want it to like stay there and be sunken in because that means it's overripe. It's going to be brown on the inside. And trick with your avocados, let's say you bought something like this, because that's what I do a lot. If I knew I wasn't going to use them, I put them in the fridge so they don't continue to ripen, or at least it slows down their ripening. I decided to get pineapple. I used to not get fruit like this because I was afraid to cut it. I was like, I don't know how to cut this. But the beauty of Google, the beauty of YouTube actually, because I watched a YouTube video and I was like, that's it. That's all it takes to cut it out, to cut a pineapple. I just cut the top, cut the bottom, and then I just peel the skin with a knife. Like I just cut the skin off and then chop it up. And then there's like a core in the middle. And that's it. And it's way more cost efficient than buying the pre-cut pineapples. For any of these fruit, if you get them pre-cut, it's always more expensive because you're paying for the fact that they cut them. So it's just something to keep in mind. Now, these are dangerous. My dates. I love dates. Dates, they're really cool. Packed with fiber, packed with potassium. I know some people get kind of freaked out by how they look, but I promise you they taste so good. They taste to me almost like, they remind me of caramel. So what I used to do, and I still do, I'll take the seed out because there is a seed in there. So you just want to be mindful of that. And then I would fill it with a little bit of peanut butter or almond butter, dip it in some melted chocolate, let it set in the freezer. Oh my gosh. And it's like your own little Snicker, except it's a whole food version. You still want to be careful. You don't eat too much of it, but it's super good. So dates. If you've imagined in the grocery store what we've done, we're walking around the perimeters. We got the fruit, we got our veg. Now we're moving into more like the dairy aisle. This is why I went to Whole Foods, okay? This brand is by BioLife. It's the same brand I use to make my spaghetti for vegan parm. I love this cream cheese. I'm actually going to be using this to make the cheesecake for my family that's coming over this weekend. Coco June coconut yogurt. It does taste like coconut, but it's like not overwhelming. It's super smooth. It's got a nice flavor, even though it's unsweetened. So what I usually do is I'll add a little bit of cinnamon. The cinnamon will actually cut the need for any added sugar because it kind of makes things taste sweeter without even adding sugar. And it also helps with insulin. So it can help your insulin help it respond better to the fact that you're taking in sugar. That way your blood sugar doesn't jump up really quickly. And then the other cool thing is that it has probiotic culture. and that's what's going to feed the good bacteria in your gut. So good gut health. Also got some pecans. These I use as the base, the top of my cheesecake, but also I like to use them like to make granola. I'll drizzle them on top of my yogurt, like as a crunch factor. Love walnuts. I'm saying walnuts. These are pecans. We got the blueberry bagels from Whole Foods. I also get veggie stock. It's got, you know, your typical ingredients. But the thing with this is that once you open it, you probably have about 7 days of that you need to use it, and then you're done. So it really puts a time crunch for me. I prefer the jarred paste instead. I also got these plant-based egg roll wrappers. Can you guess one of the things I'm going to be cooking for the dinner? It's actually going to be the appetizer for our dinner. So I don't usually do this. This ginger boost beet juice. It's a wellness shot, no sugar. So I'm gonna let you know right now how it tastes. Let's see. Okay. Ooh, yep, that cayenne's coming in now. That was a shot. Also, I'm a sucker for good branding. This juice is actually a cold pressed juice. They call it Mommy Boost. So very interesting that that's what they decided to call this juice. Has apples, carrots, beets, ginger, limes, and spinach. When I'm cooking for other people, I don't really get very hungry. So I'll use this juice as like my kind of sustenance until I get home and I'm ready to eat again. I needed some orange juice, so I just got regular orange juice. So let's just get into the next meal. See that sizzle? And then I use this to press it down so I can start drawing out all that moisture.